Well, we have some reported news.
You just told me it's bad news. I don't know what it is.
Yes, and so this is from Tom Pelissero and Ian Rappaport. On Twitter, Tom Pelissero puts this out there. He says, Lions standout defensive back Brian Branch is feared to have suffered an Achilles injury on Thursday night. Sources tell me and at Ian Rappaport, Branch will have further tests this morning, but another potential blow to a Detroit team coming off a huge win.
Achilles about the worst injury you could suffer. Yeah?
No, but it's certainly going to be season-ending, and in terms of the length of recovery, you start to look at the beginning of next year and say, is this a very similar time frame to when we lost Aleem McNeil?
It is, because this is December of last year is when Aleem McNeil went down. But Achilles is big for explosiveness. It's like you see with NBA, like point guards, that Achilles. It zaps a lot of that quick twitch. And it's a painful recovery. No?
No. My Achilles injury was one of the least painful ones that I had.
Interesting.
And so, but it affects everyone differently. There were some guys that they went down and you thought that they just got,
taken out.
A leg amputated.
Yeah.
And so it does. It really affects everyone differently.
Does it affect a tackle differently than a safety?
So I was around guys of all positions that this happened to. There are an Achilles, even an ACL, right? An ACL used to be a career ender. Achilles used to be a career ender. It's not. And there are so many more new methods to repair, to rehab, that I have no question that he'll be able to, odds are stacked in his favor that he'll be able to come back and be the same player he was. I just don't know if it'll be late August, September, or if we're going to be looking at this into October of next year. He's young enough,
right?
And youth always plays a big part of this.
What is the worst injury someone could suffer then? If it's not Achilles, what would it be?
Paralyzed?
Okay, Tom.
I mean, yeah. So, I mean,
death. Yes, if you died on the football field.
That's payback for your picks comment earlier.
Okay, shy of dying or being unable to use your extremities.
Anything that would create nerve damage.
Okay.
And so, like, if you had, I had both. I had the Achilles injury, and I also had a tib-fib fracture with a dislocated ankle. That created nerve issues in the bottom of my foot. Can't really feel the bottom of my foot anymore. That to me was a bigger, worse injury than the Achilles.
So we know it's an Achilles injury.
That's what's being reported. I don't know. It doesn't say the extent. Yes, it just says suffered an Achilles injury. Is feared to have suffered an Achilles injury.
Okay.
What about getting impaled by the yard marker?
Okay.
That one would be, I don't know if that one would be worse.
Depends on where.
When Ricky Pearsall got shot, and he's fine. Ish.
That wasn't on the field. I
know. Well, yes.
Okay.
What about the fireworks going crazy when they're coming out?
It is one of the worst to not completely throw you under the bus.
It's typically seen as
there's a lot more stigma around it than reality, though.
And that's a fair point. Things are getting better. I had always thought Achilles worse than ACL, and both of those are seen to be like season-ending and roll into next year kind of injuries.
I think an ACL is more like you have the opportunity to have more complications down the road than your Achilles injury.
Okay. But you're thinking now he's not going to play the rest of the season.
Depending on what the tests
no one's
showed today.
We're not doctors. We haven't looked at it. Nothing's official, but that's a huge blow for a team that's still got to find a way in the playoffs.
Yeah,
and beyond.
Well, and you're trying to figure out, okay, is Kirby Joseph going to be able to be back? And you'd rather have them both, but if you're down, not currently both, if you could get one of them back.
All right, passing it along to people on what is otherwise a pretty fun Friday.
Yes.
A victory Friday.
Yes.
Guys, what gave me hope last night was Dan Gamble punting on a 4th and short early in the game, Corey in Oxford.
Say that again. Sorry, I was reading Twitch.
He said Dan Gamble punting on a 4th and short early in the game.
Yeah. I most of those, I'm not going to give him too much credit. I mean, I think he did a great job of calling the offense. But in regards to whether to go for it or kick a field goal, punt the ball, most of those were fairly obvious decisions to make.
There were two 4th downs I think you could have looked to gauge where his head was at. The first was, I think he's referring to a 4th and 2 at their own 37. And Dan, at his most gamble, goes for a 4th and 2 near midfield, right?
Yeah.
Punts. The other one is a 4th and 5, and they elect to go with Bates for 52 yards, and the kick gets blocked. I thought that was the right call.
Yeah.
Given what we've discussed, they're not converting 4th down the way they used to. It's not 4th and a yard or 4th and 2 yards. It's 4th and 5. Mm-hmm. The kick at 52 is something you should expect Bates to make. I thought that was a good barometer check of where Campbell was at in terms of aggressiveness last night.
Yeah.
Maybe not changing who he is completely because no one wants him to do that, but just one notch lower. Hey, if it's not 4th and obvious, if we're not in enemy territory, we're going to use our kicking game, whether that's field goals or punts. Guys, if we win next week, people are saying no one wants any part of the Lions in January. Things can change in a hurry.
Sure they can. But you got to go out there and prove it. You proved it last night against a team that was really hot, and they were playing some of the best football in the NFL.
As much as I enjoyed the win last night, there were still things that were concerning. Hutch got manhandled all night, mostly one-on-one. You're making a face.
There was a lot of double teams. I'll have to go back and I'll put my chart together this weekend. But if you're accounting for him, what do you need? You need somebody opposite him, and Al-Quadin Muhammad was that guy last night. 3 sacks. I'll take it. I don't care where they come from, but if Hutch continues to have the motor and the presence that he is, and he attracts double and triple teams, then Ali McNeil, Al-Quadin Muhammad, whoever it is, do something. And last night we had people do something.
Worst injuries you could suffer, says Alex Smith.
Yeah, that one was worse.
Neck injuries can be pretty awful. How about a severed ball sack?
Well, it depends on the recovery. I mean, the rehab on that might not be so bad.
Guys, I'm aware football is a contact sport. You can't tell me this doesn't have something to do with strength and conditioning coaches. Why do we have so many injuries? When the hell are we going to get better strength and conditioning plans? I'm tired of this, Jared in Woodhaven.